الليل دجى من وفراته الله الله
for the sheets that he's just been performing. I'm sure you've been enjoying that while you're settling in. We will hear more from him later. A big welcome to you all on this very special occasion of celebrating 20 years of Building Bridges work in Burnley. What a treat we have in store for you. We have many people, and it's great that people have started to say hello to one another. Lots of people from all over the place who have come back here today to share their stories. These people have played a real part in building bridges over the years. So it's our way as well of acknowledging what they've done, as well as you enjoying hearing the stories of 20 years of work.
So, Building Bridges had a large employed staff, up to 7 staff members at one point. But then, of course, political fashions changed, austerity came along, and the transition had to be made to becoming a volunteer organisation. A really difficult transition, and one that would have led to the end of many charities. But Building Bridges remains very, very vibrant and alive. And that resilience is extremely impressive. And what it's down to is simple clarity of vision. This is a group that really knows what it's doing and does what it says on the tin. It's here to build bridges in Burnley. And it gets on and does that. And I've made some of the most precious friendships across traditional boundaries because of the work of building. A new generation of leaders is formed, another sign of strength and of resilience, which is extremely impressive. I know sometimes members of the community are a bit worried there seems to be less activity. I'm not worried about that, because I think more than what building bridges does, what matters more than that is the idea of it.
Every time the bishop speaks, honestly, he sort of grabs my attention and visually grabs everybody's attention. He's absolutely fabulous. I felt imposter syndrome today when I was waking up and attending this event, because I don't attend many events for Building Bridges, but this was one I wanted to attend. Like what the bishop, I've only been here 7 years in Burnley, working at the council, and my early interaction with Building Bridges was a chap who used to work at the council called Mike Wade, and he used to tell me fantastic stories of how Building Bridges helped the town get over its darkest hours in recent times. However, my interaction with Building Bridges and some of the colleagues in this room has been slightly different. It's been in a sense of how the people and the organisation has been able to evolve to meet the needs of the community. And the key moment that I've experienced has been over the last 2.5 years during the dreadful pandemic, and how the Building Bridges group and the faith groups within the organisation have supported the council, particularly really, without Building Bridges we wouldn't have been able to reach every single person that we've been able to reach.
It began when I was living in the presbytery behind St John's Church, just 2 blocks away there. One night when I got a telephone call from a parishioner to say there's problems on the streets, just make sure that your premises are secure. So I went out into the car park and saw a car burning just outside Oddies on the main road here, and a gang of lads coming up the road. And so I ran inside to make sure that the church was secure and everything was locked and bolted, and went up into the higher level of the house where I could see around. And a gang of white men were running back towards the Baltic Fleet along Ivy Street, followed by a phalanx of police on horseback, fully armoured. The horses had their visors on. The police who had shields and truncheons drawn, and they pushed the aggressors, as it were, back down the street. And behind them was a van, a workman's van, out of which jumped a couple of chaps with tape measures, measured up the broken windows on the houses, nipped inside, zipped some plywood to go on, hammered it in place and moved on to the next. And within minutes of the windows being broken, they were repaired by this team.
Well, how did building bridges, how did we start to move forward? And our next speaker is Abdul Hamid Qureshi, who is our first officer in building bridges.
To know the contribution behind the scene. How did they fight? How did they resource us? How did, people were facing difficulty, how different faiths, different communities are going to come together. And, there were barriers. So the first thing that we are human beings, we are God's creation. God has given us choice whatever path we choose. But one thing which we have as a duty is to behave rightly with one another, take care of one another. And just that will stay always as a principle with us whenever we are living. And with that principle, when building bridges worked, the doors of mosques were open and we were having feasts, and the doors of churches were open and we were having feasts. And those feasts were not funded by public fund from government. They were funded by the Muslim communities and the Christian communities and others.
We're delighted that Andy and Joel have come all the way from Yorkshire over the border to be here today with us.
So 20 years ago I stood on this spot as the minister of Zion Baptist Church and the chair of Churches Together in central Burnley to welcome the beginning of building bridges in Burnley with me as a founder member along with others. So I'm here to talk about Faith Friends, but the backstory to Faith Friends, of course, was building schools for the future, which we first probably heard about in 2003, 2004, a controversial scheme to close all the Burnley schools and some of those in Pembrokeshire and open 6 brand new ones, which happened in 2006. And then there were new schools built between 2008 and 2010. And in building bridges in Burnley, we saw that as an opportunity to renegotiate how the faith communities could be involved in the schools, and particularly working together as Muslims and Christians and others as well. So Faith Friends was born out of that vision for building schools for the future, out of which the vision for the Faith Centre was also born, and the idea of having a space and a place in each secondary school that was set apart for faith and faith-related activity in some way. And so a Christian and a Muslim working together to support and enrich the college community, demonstrating that Christians and Muslims can be friends and supporting the use of the faith space in the school. And it started at Shuttleworth College with a pilot project with Shahida Iqbal and Kat Howley working together. And that worked out, and so we expanded into Blessed Trinity and Sir John Thursby and Marsden Heights. And there was Billy Foster and Felina Ali and Celine Yogi and Kathleen Mason and others involved in that school's work here today. It was overseen by the Faith Friends Working Group. But what did these Faith Friends do in this school? They did breakfast clubs and supported the use of the faith rooms. They gave input into assemblies. They contributed to classes. They supported students and staff. They did project work. They linked the colleges to the faith communities in Burnley. They linked the colleges to the Faith Centre and its activities. But most of all, they were caring for and building friendship with staff and students. And all in just a day a week.
Myself, Rafiq Malik and Peter Pyth, the then Member of Parliament for Burnley, we were a series of meetings to how to respond to the situation that we were facing back in 2001 when Burnley erupted into riots and we had problems, serious problems in our hands. And where we were then and where we are now, we have every reason to celebrate. We were, at the time, we had people in the council, senior member of the council, making irresponsible remarks with the council, whom we had to challenge, saying that, for example, takeaways and taxi drivers were literally put out. Just to give you an example. So when responsible people, their action becomes irresponsible, things go wrong. And it doesn't take too many people to create problems. Raja Arif Khan, who is the Deputy Mayor of Council at the moment, just reminded me of our delegation visit to House of Commons and London Palace when we represented Burnley to find ways, solutions to our problems. There was Rafiq Malik, Sher Ali Mia, and many others who we went there as a delegation. And here in Burnley, we had the eruption, the rapid rise of BNP. Many of you recall, BNP was the second largest party in Burnley. It was shocking. And Burnley was referred to as the capital of BNP. In fact, Nick Griffin was planning to set up a headquarters here. So we went through shocking experiences, and where we were then and where we are now, a relatively calm town, and not many years ago we were voted the happiest town in the country. 3 prime ministers consecutively mentioned our work in the House of Commons being the best practice in faith.
Hello, my friends. God be with you. Salam. Mazakir has been in touch with me, telling me that you are celebrating 20 years of building Bridges Burnley. A fantastic achievement, and indeed it should be celebrated. I remember the night we all came to the Bishop of Burnley's house, when I was then bishop, and we met and discussed during the disturbances how we could bring healing and reconciliation and goodwill to all the people around us, to challenge those who would divide, like the BNP, by seeking to destroy our community. We rather worked to expose their lies and build up people together so we can work for a better town. But the room was full of questions. How could we possibly manage to do this? I remember some straight and strong questions and what we could do. But above all, I remember that we spoke with tolerance and respect for each other, as people who follow the one God. A really good start. And so it proved. Much was done in our community. Lies of the BNP rejected and spoken against by building bridges. Then their popularity waned, but our fellowship and friendships grew. The community was well served by you all. We came nationally and internationally known. More important, I believe under God, we brought healing and wholeness and hope to the community. Though I may long have left Burnley, I still think of the work we shared together. So today, I wish I could be with you, but you remain in my hearts, and I pray that the friendship and the feasting and the enjoyment we had together will continue to bear fruit in the community. Salam. God be with you all in the future.
Hello, my name's Jackie South. I became involved in building bridges in 2009, just as I retired. I was looking for something new to do, and building bridges certainly provided that for me. I did lots of things at the beginning. I took lots of photographs. I was involved in some of the publicity, and I went on to run the website for many years. Because of that, I got a really good overview of everything that was going on, and I attended loads and loads of functions. But my favourite part was with the women, really. I loved the sharing of everything, the sharing of ideas, of faith, of food, we used to have coffee mornings. We had a really good time. And of course, eventually, I sang my heart out with the choir, which was really good fun. So I hope the 20th anniversary goes as well as the 10th did, because I remember.
Hi, Kay here, Building Bridges Treasurer. Just wishing you congratulations on the 20-year anniversary. I'm sorry I can't be there. I would have loved to have been, but unfortunately I am on holiday. I've started with Building Bridges in 2008, working for the Bridge Project, and then finished in 2013 when the project finished. And I've volunteered since, and I've watched the organisation go from strength to strength. And I think we're in a brilliant position at the moment, and we've done so many great things in the last 20 years. And I just hope that we carry on for another 20 years and more. So congratulations and have a lovely day.
My journey with Building Bridges started in Blackburn. I was Director of Racial Equality Council and Secretary of Lancashire Council of Mosques. Lord Dale, who was Chairman of the Lancashire Council of Mosques, myself, and the then Lord Bishop of Blackburn met, and we agreed to establish Lancashire Building Bridges, which was mainly active in Blackburn. And it did wonderful work, especially on American invasion of Iraq, when people were very upset, especially young people, and the bishop spoke against it and condemned it. And that went a long way to reassure the young Muslims that we have somebody who cares for us. I had been there for a couple of months. Bishop John became the Bishop of Burnley. I invited him to Mayor's Parlour, as they call it, and we talked about establishing a Burnley Building Bridges, and the rest has been mentioned by my pupil and colleague Muzakkir Ali.
من طلعته والليل دجى من وفراته.
Stu Collingwood, when we first came to Burnley, who invited me to go on the building give thanks because it was one of the most enjoyable parts of being in Burnley. Right, how did Share Faith, Share Food, Face to Face start? Very simply, one of the parents at St Peter's School said to me one day, Kath, can I ask you something? Who arranged your marriage with Cam and Tom? That led to a 2-hour conversation, and we realised how much we didn't know about one another. And the idea was born. So I talked to Mothers Union in London, who gave me permission. They thought it was a great idea, so we had our first meeting, and it's thanks to Shahida and Rina, they've got together a group of Muslim women and my Mothers Union people. And we had our first meeting in August 2008. You must have heard about us at the National Council of Christian Women and Muslims down in London. So we took part in a listening exercise in 2011. And then about 12 of us went down to a national conference in 2012. We met at St Peter's, and as Tom was retiring at St Peter's in 2013, and as we thought it should have a broader umbrella, we transferred it to the Faith Centre under the very capable leadership of Bea, and therefore I rest my case. And that wasn't 3 minutes, I'm quite sure.
People I've met through Building Bridges, who I've become, I'm going to get emotional now, a very close friend with Samina, and we've gone on lots of different journeys together over these 20 years.
And that Bishop could have said it was about building those precious friendships. And I benefited just as much as the staff and pupils that I worked with. And when I've reflected about my experiences, what I've learned is that the value of building and nurturing relationships, that really stands out. Because if you want to have resilient and confident communities, you need to start with building those. It was a privilege for me as a faith friend because this role afforded me the chance and the space to work with and for young people to be able to ask questions. And often these questions were quite sensitive people and let them have the opportunity to ask questions. And this could be anonymous. So they would write questions on a piece of paper. And the aim of that was to ensure that there was anonymity, and also for these young people to be open and honest about questions that they wanted to ask, because some of them were a bit concerned that they didn't want to come across as being discriminatory or racist, and we showed that that wasn't the case.
I started in 2017, and in that time we've engaged with 4 secondary schools, two further education colleges locally, and we've also started work in primary schools. So the work that we do in primary schools is that we link in with the RE curriculum, and we have people of faith that go to schools into primary schools to talk about their faith and do a creative activity. So the 6 faiths are Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism and Judaism. Those are the faiths that we connect with. And we're very lucky that we have faith friends from across Lancashire that do that work. We have really good feedback. We've engaged with approximately 50 schools since we started. I started in 2016 when a Frasca approached me to do some faith friends work. So I did go into one of the secondary schools, and then I'll share my story of my experience of going into a primary school. So I was asked whether I would go into a primary school and talk about my faith and think of a creative activity. So what it is, I always like to sing. But my brother tells me, because he loves me, he tells me that you have a voice that sounds like a crow, so do never sing, never ever sing. So I thought, this is my opportunity. I'm going into school, so my creative activity is going to be I'll sing. So I've not done this before. So taken the bag, gone into the school and went into the first classroom, which was a reception class, and did my thing, sang, took props out of the bag, let's talk about what's in the bag, and it went great. And what I didn't realise is by 3 o'clock when I finished, and I needed to get out, I was like, hi, they came to the door, I need to get out. And the secretary said, well, I did wonder at 9 o'clock, how is she possibly going to continue this for 6 hours? So I learned a lesson there. Yeah, keep it short and sweet, and maybe don't focus on the singing too much. We have really, really good feedback. feedback from all our faith friends that attend. And then during the pandemic, we kind of looked at different ways of engaging. So we started to deliver sessions online on Zoom, and we've had really good feedback from that as well. And one person that can't be here today is Rohana Ale. So I'm the coordinator and she's the main powerhouse. She does all the admin, she does all the coordination. She's amazing. So she's not here, but I'd just like to say thank you to her.
Say thank you to those people who are no longer with us, but particularly those pioneers who are in the room today. Because if it wasn't for their vision, we would not be able to have some of the friendships, and certainly for myself, people like Peter Pipe, but definitely people like Colin Wills, who first engaged me in building bridges activities. I remember the first time he invited me to, I spoke to him at the Gorsia Mosque about building bridges once when the mosque opened. And by the end of this summer, he convinced me to join the board, and I've been a part of building bridges ever since and been involved in it. But going forward, I think what we need to be focusing on is that, as Bishop Philip I think said, was that we can't get too hung up on the number of events, the number of activities that take place. What's the most important thing is actually the message of unity and the message of friendship. And I think I heard Mr. Malik say we need more young people, and I think it's finding a different way of working. So we might not get the young people always to our places of worship or when we have board meetings and things like that, but actually tomorrow we've got a fun day for young people. We work out there through the schools, work with young people. So it's finding new ways of working, different ways of working, and making sure that we can engage all of our communities and trying to take everybody on the journey with us and carry that message of unity for every single one of us, because everybody who's here, we have an affiliation to the town, we love the town, we love the borough, and we want it to be something that we're all proud of, and hopefully I can work with colleagues. So there are younger people than me in the room, and what I would like to say is that we do need more people to get involved and be active in the organisation. So anybody here who would like to, if you don't want to put your hand up now, no pressure to speak to us, any of us afterwards, we'll be more than happy to take people on and to join us in good work going forward.
Thank you very much indeed.
Which is a wonderful phrase Mr. Malik used when he described it as a body of barrier breakers and bridge builders. That is a soundbite of the day, Mr. Malik, I think. I've been thinking a bit about the backdrop to our wonderful meeting this afternoon. Appalling, horribly violent, senseless war in Ukraine. The enduring oppression of the people of Palestine and Kashmir. A massacre in Nigeria last week, pointing out the enduring persecution of Christians across the globe. The school shootings in the States 2 weeks ago. We're in a world that desperately needs people of peace. It needs barrier breakers and bridge builders. It needs people who know peace in their hearts. And as we know, that peace springs from our relationship with God. And then it needs people who work and build that peace courageously and resiliently in their daily lives, in their homes and in communities. And that's what we've heard today. We've heard beautiful stories of people of peace. People paying a cost at times. People acting sacrificially to build peace in their communities and in their neighbourhoods. Peace is the word that brings our great faiths together. Jesus says, "Peace I give to you, a peace the world cannot give." The very word Islam means peace. We're all men and women of peace. So I'd like to end in two ways. In a moment I'll end with a prayer. But first of all, I wonder if we could commit ourselves anew to being a people of peace. What I'd love you all to do, please, is to stand. Commit ourselves anew to being a people of peace. Switch it on.
That's
Help us to share that peace in our homes and in our families and in our communities, that justice may flourish and all may know that peace which is your gift. Amen.
There's really much else left to say. Mr. Malik, can I thank you for your very kind words about my mother. I think between you did a lot of work together. Thank you for that. But I see many other faces around here. I see Sue, who grows wonderful sweet peas. I see Sajja, who I think I need to talk pickles.
Oh yes.
And many certain gentleman over there. There we go. So I would like to actually end saying that it's not just through organisations, but it's also through our own personal friendships, our work, our education, our shopping. We meet and greet and speak to so many people, and we can spread the word of building bridges that way. So I'd also just really like to finish with what we think of bridges. What do they do? Bridges cross from one community to another, but they also cross from the past to the future, and that's where we are now. And I think with that, we'll pass from that to Kate.
Allah